We've all heard the warning, don't eat too much tuna, you'll get mercury poisoning. Those of us who live near the San Francisco Bay might have also been cautioned about eating the fish like striped bass or halibut that make the bay their home for this same reason. The question is, why? In the Bay Area, it's easy to ignore the threat of mercury when worries over the drought and smog levels seem much more pressing. But what a lot of people don't realize is just how much history the Bay Area has with mercury pollution. Mercury enters our oceans in several ways. One of the main sources of mercury pollution is the combustion of fossil fuels. Factories and power plants that burn fuels like coal can release the mercury naturally contained in the fuel into the atmosphere, where it can stay for months until a rain shower carries it down into the sea. Other sources of the ocean's mercury contamination include metal production, cement production, and both small and large-scale gold mining operations. You might not be surprised to find out that gold mining was, and continues to be, a huge pollutant of the San Francisco Bay. In the late 1840s, San Francisco, California became one of the most exciting locations in the world. People from all around the globe swarmed to the city to make their fortune in gold from the surrounding hills. The legacy of the gold rush remains today. Flattened landscapes, the 49ers football team, and a vast amount of mercury sitting in the wetlands and marshes along the bay. The gold rush caused mass destruction to the landscape in the bay. The famed miners of 1849 not only panned for gold along rivers, but tore down mountains, washed away marshes, and upturned almost every square inch of earth in pursuit of the precious metal. As a result, gold was not the only heavy metal released from the earth. Mercury was also mined and used to find gold due to the natural attraction between the two metals. Mercury from the gold rush mines, some of which stayed operational till the 1970s, continues to leak into the bay today, combining with the mercury brought in by storm runoff, waste runoff, and other sources of pollution mentioned earlier. In total, it is estimated that around 2,000 pounds of mercury enter the bay each year. This might not sound like a lot in comparison to billions of gallons of water, but the toxicity of mercury and the amount that has accumulated is significant enough to be dangerous to the inhabitants of the bay, humans included. When mercury enters the ocean, it can be converted by bacteria into the neurotoxin known as methylmercury. Methylmercury can then make its way up the food chain, amassing in predators such as large fish. As a neurotoxin, methylmercury can have negative effects on neural functions. Wildlife can suffer impaired immune systems and development issues in their young. In humans, the initial symptoms of mercury poisoning include problems with vision and hearing, nausea, vomiting, tremors, and strange changes in mood. Methylmercury can also have permanent impacts on the central nervous system and is especially dangerous to the developing brains of fetuses, babies, and small children. Research points to the consumption of contaminated seafood as the single leading cause of mercury exposure. The amount of mercury present in the bay makes any large fish, such as striped bass, halibut, and sturgeon, a probable suspect for containing methylmercury. This might not be a problem if your main source of seafood is the supermarket. However, lower-income families from around the Bay Area rely on fish directly from the bay as a food resource. This puts these families at a higher risk of mercury poisoning. Although the prospect of reducing the amount of mercury contamination in the San Francisco Bay seems daunting, especially since mercury enters the ecosystem in so many ways, a cleanup plan enacted in 2007 provides some steps toward a safer bay. These include requiring that wastewater discharges be monitored more carefully for methylmercury, as well as requiring that discharging companies actively participate in efforts to protect communities that are at risk.